Thanks for joining me. It's Danny Cardwell, thoughtwrestler.blogspot.com, and got off work earlier. Came home, jumped in the shower, wanted to get ready for date night tonight because my wife will be home soon. And I got on Periscope, and there was a live scope from the University of Missouri. And in this scope, took some screenshots, put it on my Facebook. But in this particular scope, there was a black man in his early 50s, he appeared to be, Christian Bible thumping type, and I say that, and I mean for it to sound as horrible as it does, because he had his Bible literally pushing it in people's faces, and you could tell he was there trying to provoke the students to engage in some sort of violent activity. And the first thing that came to my mind was the tactics used by the counterintelligence program, J. Edgar Hoover and COINTELPRO, and it's a lot of hip cats that know what that's about, but there's a lot of cats that don't know nothing about that. A lot of young kids don't know anything about that, don't know that their government actually conspired to delegitimize and diminish the effect that the civil rights leaders were able to have. And one of the tactics they used was they would send people to rallies to try to disrupt them, and that would cause their people that would be sympathetic to their movement to ignore the movement, the greater movement. And so when I saw that, I immediately went straight to COINTELPRO, and it's these kids are going to have to work, extremely hard to make sure everybody stays in line and stays in tune with what the central message is, because there will be people around the periphery, around the edges of their movement that will try to provoke a situation. I mean, right now they have succeeded in, getting some of the demands they want, and they have a national platform. They have the attention of the world. So, this is a crucial time for them. Getting the president to step down is one thing, but, now that you have, this spotlight, it's going to be a crucial time for these kids, and I hope that they're prepared for, these kind of tactics that come at them. But again, I want to get to the main purpose of what I wanted to talk about, though. Ferguson, during the whole Ferguson coverage, and this is so funny, this is how the media does, this is how the media portrays any movement for civil rights. During Ferguson, the riots that happened inside of the city, you heard a bunch of media folks, and they were saying, well, why aren't these people respecting the legacy of Dr. King, nonviolent, peaceful protest? And they were beat over the head with Dr. King. And that's a tactic that you see more and more. Anytime black folks stand up, to injustices, or even if they're perceived injustices, let's just say that. I believe these kids' claims are real, by the way, but, it's been touted in the media that some of these events may or may not have happened, which is another tactic. We'll get to that later, but what these kids have to do is remain focused, and what happens is that during Ferguson, during Baltimore, anytime there's an uprising, anytime there's riots, they're hit over the head with Dr. King peaceful assembly marches, and the kids at the University of Missouri have followed what they were asking for, and yet they're still, touted as thugs and hooligans. And I've read comments as nasty as the inmates are running the asylum, hooligans, and so, I mean, my greater point is that there's nothing that you can do that's going to challenge the status quo. There's nothing you can do that will attempt to flip the natural order of things that won't be criticized. I don't care how peaceful, I don't care how respectful you are. The moment you call into question this whole ideological premise of a post-racial society, you will be attacked. And it's so, ironic that it's inside of the same state. I mean, literally, Ferguson was burning, and you had these pundits calling for peaceful protest, peaceful assembly. And now you have peaceful protest, peaceful assembly, and these same pundits are diminishing their claims and dismissing the kids outright. Noble Savage, peace, man. I really appreciate you. On another tip, on the replay, I'll upload this to the Thought Wrestler YouTube channel, but these tactics are there. They're real. And what a lot of people in their revisionist history and retelling of the civil rights movement don't understand is that, there were several riots during that era. the night that Dr. King was assassinated, there were, over 200 riots in cities all around the country. And there's a certain kind of violence I think all of us have to be ready to use and employ. And I think the violence that these kids used, the power of the boycott, the fact that the football team united with them, and you hurt people in their pocketbook. And that's the kind of violence I advocate. Anybody trying to teach or tell these kids to assemble, gather up arms, and try to take on the state apparatus is a fool, and you'll lead these kids to slaughter. The most powerful tool that these kids have is their ability right now, with the national eye on them, to continue their efforts and then, hurt people in their pocketbooks. The $1 million loss, 1.4 million was one figure I read. $1.4 million loss that the university stood to lose if the football team didn't play was something that they couldn't blink their eye at. They were completely happy with the young brother that was on the hunger strike, and God knows he could have died, in a couple of weeks, and no one would have ever thought anything about it. But it was the moment that they were forced to address some financial issues that action happened. And so, over the next few days and few weeks, and I've seen it already, and I've read the articles and I've seen it on TV, you will see every attempt made possible to continue to diminish these kids. And you'll see it come from media figures, you'll see it come from religious figures, you'll see it come from politicians, and you'll even see it in the clergy is what bothers me. I was in a discussion with a young pastor who completely diminished the claims they made. And I want to just be brutally honest. If we were at a university anywhere in the country and you had young white women who didn't feel safe on campus, there would be a national outcry. And those involved in whatever activity was going on that was making those young white women feel unsafe would be brought to justice. There would be heads rolled, and the pressure would be coming from the top down, not the bottom up. And so that's one of the things our movement and what we've always had to do is we've had to bring the pressure from the bottom up. We haven't had the power to bring pressure to bear from top down. And so the hypocrisy of all of it, as people look to diminish this movement, ask yourselves internally, what do they get out of diminishing this movement? And some of those people, what they get is they get their myth of a post-racial society affirmed. And so they have to diminish any instance and every instance of racial injustice because it completely diminishes their worldview that we've overcome the evils, the insidious evils of racism in our country, that in a 40 or 50 year period, we've handled all that. And my wife actually 2 years ago raised money for historical markers for the Rosenwald School Project. Both of our parents went to segregated schools. Her mother went to T.C. Walker, and my parents went to Unionhurst. And then they went to Watson High School. They went to segregated schools. And this is in our lifetime. So when you talk about these issues, some people like to talk about racism as if it was something we handled a couple hundred years ago. And yet, I am the product of a country that taught my parents that they were less than the ground they walked on. And we're expected to believe that these issues are over and resolved with. So, I want to get out of here with that point. But, again, just to get back over it, what we're going to see in these next few weeks or days, as long as they have the media spotlight, you're going to see people attempt to diminish their claims. You're going to see people try to ridicule their movement. And you will see people that will attempt to get these kids to engage in some sort of violence. And I hope and sincerely pray that they don't give them the bait they're looking for. That's what they're looking for. Secondly, just think about everything that was said about protests during Baltimore and Ferguson and all the times Dr. King was invoked. And then just look at the people that are diminishing these kids now for doing exactly what they said should be done. And, you'll see this. So, again, Noble Savage, I appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you for tuning in. I'm not trying to make any money off anybody. I'm just dropping this stuff off. I write a blog at thoughtwrestler.blogspot.com. I also publish work to dagblog.com, Politicus USA, and the Politicus. I Medium.com, and the Recorder, Bath Highland County Recorder. I really appreciate you guys. I got a YouTube channel. Got a lot of stuff going on. I know some people catch this on replay. If you follow, I follow back. Have a great day. Peace.